on Chris Paul's way out, gets traded to the Wizards, just so happens to have a media tour lined up to promote his new book with Michael Wilbon. And in this series of interviews that he does, and Chris always being a very deliberate guy, in my opinion, clearly goes out of his way multiple times in each interview to highlight the fact that the decision to make this move was made by Matt Ishbia, but also he references Isiah, who is obviously Isiah Thomas, who does not work for the Suns, but who all throughout the postseason was sitting next to Matt Ishbia. Prior to that, reports that Isiah was going to head up the Suns front office. The Suns pushed back on that, denied that report. That element, I think, is kind of worth noting, because James Jones is conceivably the head of the front office, and he's still there doing his thing. But to have Chris Paul tell the world that this is how this went down, I thought was interesting, and we'll see if it pays off. To your point, basketball wise, I'm not mad at the Suns for doing it because the cost was so low, and I'm a sucker for guys like Beal at this stage of their career. Like, I do kind of enjoy seeing them get a chance to contend after being in a tough situation for a number of years. Do I have them above the Nuggets as you handicap it right now? Not even close, not at all. I got to see it. I got to see how they fill out the roster, which is going to be incredibly hard. They'd be lucky to hold on to the handful of free agents that they have coming up this summer. So there's a lot left to determine there, but they feel like they are a bit out over their skis.
Let's get into the Isiah Thomas thing a little bit, because, it is interesting, the way it has all played out, which, Chris Haynes reported he was part of it. Like you said, they pushed back against it, yet he's sitting right next to Matt Ishbia, not only all playoffs, but how about during the Jokic? Remember the Jokic little sideline scuffle? Yep. Isiah Thomas is right in there in the mix, like basically under Jokic's armpit. And that's a pretty big sign that, even if he's not officially part of, the front office, he's sitting there probably, all game, every game, giving opinions on players and, how things should be run. Clearly, his name was kind of floated a little bit as part of the Monty Williams decision too, right? Another massive choice they made this summer. It's like, why do you think I guess you go back to his Knicks past, front office pass, is why maybe they were hesitant to loop him in officially. But clearly he's a heavy part of this.
Yeah, and I kind of think, and I wrote this a little bit today. I just kind of think that it's time for Matt and the Suns to acknowledge the choice they made. I'm not in that camp, and I think a lot of people would be. And I guess to quickly fill in the context in case people don't remember it, the younger crowd, I guess. If he's 17 year, excuse me, I was looking it up. 17 years removed from his Knicks scandal, where he was alleged to be sexually harassing and be part of a toxic workplace environment. Ends up in a settlement, $11.9 million with Anuka Brown Sanders. And the thing that is tricky here is that, listen, Isiah Thomas got a incredibly high profile within the NBA. It's not like he's been in the shadows ever since that happened. He's had a number of different, non-NBA jobs, basketball jobs, Florida International from then on.
Half the time I go on NBA TV, he's in the studio asking questions.
The league has got him with the microphone. I enjoy his commentary. He's obviously a legend of the game. And to be honest, have always gotten along just fine with Isiah. It's just the uncomfortable part is that of all the organizations to provide a kind of an NBA return in a front office role, the Suns are the worst one because of where these similar themes and these things that the optics of having Isiah lead this franchise in any way are not great. And I'm presuming that the Suns and Matt Ishbia know this, and they just figured that they would continue to go down this informal, unofficial road. And Chris kind of blew up their spot a little bit. So I'm curious to see if they feel any pressure to finally acknowledge how this is operating, how this is running. And again, I'm not sitting here advocating for, hey, he shouldn't be doing this, but I am a sucker for don't treat the public like they're idiots. And if you have an elephant in the room, you're going to need to address it. You're going to need to help people understand why you are comfortable with these dynamics that for a lot of people are uncomfortable.
Yeah, and you're not exactly hiding it as far as like I remember when like Joe
Right.
Dumars was part of the Kings. It was like I don't really see Joe Dumars in the arena much. Where it's like Isaiah Thomas is seated right next to Matt Ishbia
Right.
courtside in playoff games.
Right.
Like that's you're not hiding it.